Big week for Alabama after the bye. Now they get set to take on the LSU Tigers. We're going to talk about that right here on the show today. So make sure that you guys like, subscribe, thumbs up. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort. It's a big week anytime Alabama and LSU get together. Is this one of Bama's biggest rivals? I'm going to ask Mike about that right after this. All right. What do you say, guys? And welcome to the show. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi. Talking about the Timeout Sports Lounge, Vegas-style sports book right there, an hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham. And that's Mike Johnson. I'm Mick Gillespie, the two-time All-American. Mike, let me just get this started. Is Alabama and LSU, I mean, is this the Bama's – where do you rank this as far as Bama rivals?
It's just such a it sucks, man, because I put it up there. You know, you saw a lot of the battles we had when I was in school and the battles that have been happening over the last 15 years. I mean, these are always two of the most talented teams in the country facing off with one another, man. And, you know, for so many different reasons, this is a rivalry game to me. But, you know, you look at the SEC scheduling and everything going on with that, it doesn't seem to be one that really registers with everybody else, man. But I think it's a rivalry game. I mean, I'd put it in the top 3 for us right there with Auburn and Tennessee. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into stories throughout the show, dude. But I mean, this was it when I was in school. LSU was, I mean, obviously winning national title when I was in school, and you know, those were always huge matchups. And I made a couple of trips to Baton Rouge since then to watch this game, and always a fun time, dude. No doubt about it.
Yeah. When Saban took the Alabama job, it went from being, you know, like a team on the schedule to being a game. And then on top of that, most of the years it was Alabama and LSU battling it out to go to Atlanta, which Alabama won a lot of those contests. But LSU won some too, right? They won 3 national championships here in, you know, since 2000. And you know, Bama won 6 of them, including playing these guys in the national championship, which, you know, don't forget about that. Did we go to that one? I don't know. We didn't go to that one together. That one's where they didn't get past 50.
I actually heard, I don't know if you follow T-Bob Hebert, who works for Barstool now.
Yeah.
I was listening to him talk the other day. He got benched for that game. I didn't realize that. He was talking on his new Barstool show. He was talking about how just that game, they decided that they were going to play somebody else. And I was like, dude, if I had been benched in the national title game, I don't know what I'd do thinking back on it. I mean, do you remember T-Bob Hebert? Because obviously we have his dad, Bobby, on from time to time. He used to play for the Falcons.
Yeah.
He had a snap that year against, I think it was Tennessee, where Tennessee was like about to win the game. They had like 1 play left.
I remember this.
And T-Bob looks up and sees the clock about to hit 0 and just snaps the ball. And I think it was it Justin Jefferson, like not ready for, or Jordan Jefferson, not ready for the snap, and just, you know, it like hits him, and like all of a sudden all this stuff happens, and it turns out like Tennessee had 12 people on the field.
Yeah.
Just insanity, man. And I think back on that all the time. But man, yeah, you're right. You look back at that time, and I don't remember. You'd have to update me. You're a little bit older than me. What was LSU like when you were in school? Because I know that they weren't always what LSU is now.
No, they were more like Auburn. You know, like Auburn now, maybe. They're like middle. I guess Auburn's kind of at the bottom.
I know that felt good to say.
Yeah. Maybe Tennessee. I don't know. Like middle of the pack, but sometimes they could have a good year. They just never seemed, before Saban got there, they never seemed to like really get any momentum, right? Like they'd have a year or two where they'd be, you know, fighting for 9 wins, maybe 10 wins. And then the next year, like 7 wins, you know, like they always play Alabama tough, but it was like, it's kind of middle of the road to me. I remember going down there and they hadn't won a championship since like forever. And then Saban came. Bama had won every year down there or not lost. So I guess there were some ties in there. From Bear Bryant, 1969 maybe, until Mike Dubose in like 2002 or something, you know, like, and Saban beat him. It was
From
like
the way you're talking
crazy.
about him, I feel like they were probably more like rivalries aside, I feel like they were probably a lot like Tennessee is now.
Yeah, kind of, you know, like forget about the, you know, the fact that everybody thinks Alabama's the rival, right? Like, you know, every team does because they've been, you know, Tide's been at the top, but Saban came in and then all of a sudden, like, it becomes the game because they hated that Alabama got Nick Saban.
Oh, dude, trust me. I know. We almost beat them in 2007. We were up most part of that game, Nick's first year, but that was in Tuscaloosa. And dude, that 2008 game, where I think maybe it was the week or two before, maybe it was before our bye week, so it's been situated kind of like now. Texas loses as the number one team in the country, and all of a sudden, like, we're kind of thinking about it. And I think that was the Crabtree game, if I'm not mistaken. Thinking about it, and you're like, oh man, I think we're going to be the number one team in the country. And that was the first time since Saban had been there. And then, we head down to Baton Rouge, and what a scene in Baton Rouge. That 2008 game when we go down there, they're like burning effigies next to the bus of Saban.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're lighting these things on fire, egging the bus, rocking it back and forth. It was absolute insanity. We used to do the pregame walk around the field. I mean, we go out there, you get out there 2 hours before the game starts. The whole student section is completely slammed. I had a Thursday night class with John Parker Wilson that week, and he's just like, dude, somebody gave out my phone number, and he the whole phone number thing. He puts his phone down on the table. He's like, watch this. He turns the phone on, and it's just bzz, 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 bzz. Turns it back off. He's like, I don't know what to do. I guess I got to get a new phone number. So, this whole thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, man, it's crazy. It's crazy what that game was back in 08 and 09. And thankfully, we were able to come out on top of both those. Really good games, though. Yeah.
No, that was nuts. And it was crazy how fast that it did become a rivalry, and then Bama, when Saban took over, they had these long losing streaks through the Shula era, which another Shula era, by the way, ended yesterday. But what's that?
I said, pour one out, man.
Yeah,
we love you,
one
Mike.
Out.
We love you.
Yeah, love you, Mike. Bama lost to LSU. They had a long losing streak to Auburn, and Saban came in and like in glorious fashion ended these losing streaks. The Auburn one was one of the games that I hated missing the most because I was broadcasting the women's basketball games for Crimson Tide Sports Network that no one cares or watches or listens to or has anything to do with. Unless maybe one day we get really competitive, right? It's kind of been that one of those things like you're like, well, you're getting on a plane and flying out somewhere. We were in like the Bahamas or something. And I'm watching this unfold, just a complete ass whooping of Auburn, which you were part of. That was one of the greatest days as an Alabama football fan that I missed in my life. But God, that was awesome. And then the way that we beat LSU, remember game day was there and they're all picking against us. It was before people realized what was going on, right? Like it was before they knew that Bama was about to take over the world of college football. And you were part of this one. I just remember Julio Jones, like just catching this ball and just like blowing past everybody. And there's like the game day guys are like on the sideline. He's running by them. It was so awesome. Curtis Granderson came to my tailgate. You remember? Were you? No, you weren't there for that.
It was the random thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Like he was like a star for the baseball star. I flew in with one of my other buddies. They came and hung out. It was just a perfect day.
Man, I do remember. Do you remember the 2005 game that we lost when we were really good? one of the top
Yeah.
one of the top teams in the country. And game day was at that game in Tuscaloosa with
Yeah.
Jamarcus Russell. Was that an overtime game? Might have been an
It
overtime
was.
game.
We had the lead. We got the lead on them, and then like we just couldn't. It was just like kind of like Mike Shula's career in a nutshell, right? Like,
Dude,
like you're this close. Like when you need to reach down and figure out like the Ryan Grubb play that's just gonna blow the damn thing open. You just never could do it, right? That game was a great example of that. Had the lead, had a chance, and then all of a sudden got into the fourth quarter and just couldn't do anything. And they snuck back in it and beat us in overtime. Yeah, did you play in that one, or were you just on the sideline?
I was redshirted that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sucked.
That sucked. No doubt about that. But that was my first taste, though, like in college. And I might be wrong on my timeline here, but I remember that being my first taste of like real premier college football. You know what I mean? Like I was like, man, like we were decent in 05. Obviously, we went 10-2. But I remember like game day being in town and LSU was rolling in, and you're like, dude, this is a big one. You know what I mean? Like it's your first taste of like, dude, like the blimp was there. You know what I mean? Like that kind of game where you're like, man, like this is legit.
The atmosphere was great. I remember thinking after that game, like we were good, but we weren't elite, right? Like, and Saban, I mean, I know we talk so much about Saban because he's the greatest of all time, but he got us back to where we won those games. You know what I mean? Like, like you were part of that. And then it's like, I got to give DeBoer and his crew a lot of credit too, man. Like they win those games too. And they've done it this year. Going to Athens and beating Georgia like that. I mean, come on.
Oh, no, look, I'll say this too. And I was not in this game, but I was actually, where was I at when this happened? I was on the road with the Falcons. I don't remember where we were playing. I have no idea. But we were playing somebody, and this was the TJ Yeldon game where they're down in Baton Rouge, and, you know, AJ's going to like, I guess it was maybe Kenny Bell or whoever it was. He kept throwing the out routes to in the sideline, and AJ dumps off the TJ Yeldon screen. Maybe 2010, 2011. Can't remember. No, it would have been 2010, I guess. But, dude, I've never, like, I don't think I've ever been as excited for Bama to win a football game. I couldn't have been 10 because they lost in 10. But I don't think I've ever been so excited to see them win a football game as I did when they won that game with TJ Yeldon on that screen pass. That was absolute insanity to see them come back in that game because they got whooped for the better part of that whole game. And then you see that screen pass and just the heart ripped out of that stadium. In that moment, it was like, but that's exactly what you're talking about. Like we got to a point where we started winning those games. We were the bully in the fourth quarter, not the other way around.
Dude, that game, my son was a little kid. I'm holding him like a little baby.
Yeah.
And we score. I'm running around the house with him as my football. Like, oh, wow, you're gonna hurt him. And he's laughing and having a blast. Like, we're going crazy. I'll never forget that one either.
That was either 12 or 13. I can't remember. Yeah. It was an AJ year, but it wasn't 11 because that was the game of the century.
I met TJ recently, and I'm like sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, "Hey, you probably don't remember this, but I was actually behind you in line. Right? Like, this is funny. I was behind you in line in Arizona." And old in Scottsdale, we're in line at Walgreens.
Oh, there
you go. I'm standing there, and some guy walks up, and I thought at first he was talking to me, and he's like, "Hey, aren't you TJ Yeldon?" And TJ like looks at this guy, and then just tries to ignore him, and finally was like, "Yeah, I'm TJ Yeldon." I was like, and he did remember, which is the funny thing, because I was like, it was just the weird, it was just so like random, right? And I said, "How did you get out there?" I was like, "I worked for the Cubs. I was there for spring training." He was like, "I played with a guy that went to Arizona State, and he told me about it." And he's like, "I came to visit." I was like, "Man, this place is awesome." You know, so he's from where I live now, Daphne, but it's pretty funny that like of the places that you know, like I never thought when I was standing in line one day I'm going to be like, "Hey, dude, like, you know,
right.
At a reception, I'm like, 'Hey, do you remember that time we were in line at the, at the Walgreens?'"
That's
And it was
funny,
just
man.
fun. It was just so funny because because you could tell TJ did not want to be recognized. And this guy's just like, hey, aren't you TJ Yeldon? And I think he might have said roll tide to him afterwards.
There
Anyway,
you go.
does that happen to you, Mike?
No, well, no, it hasn't in a long time. But look, man, it goes the other way with me when people are like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Hey, what? Roll Tide?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't know anything about that." No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's happened before. Obviously, anytime you get back to Bama, it happens a little bit more often. But yeah, not I don't think to the way that you would for a TJ Yeldon. I'll say that.
Yeah, right. Like those skill guys get all the love.
They do, man. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. Although I'm pretty recognizable stature wise, so get a little bit of that too.
Now the Falcons, and I don't even want to talk about the Falcons, but you cover the Falcons. They're always in exciting games, though. At least you got that going for you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things like you're talking about. Always tight until the very end, and you get bullied in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, right. Like you just don't come up with that play call. I relate that too. Mike Shula got fired by South Carolina as the offensive coordinator. We wish him the best. Mike played for him, and he's a former Alabama quarterback, and he's accomplished a lot. And sometimes you're just made the scapegoat when things don't go well, right? But coming up with those plays, like I feel like Ryan Grubb is so good at digging deep to figure out a way to come up with something when you need it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And look, man, just the overall view on Mike Shula. Like I know that you feel this way because we've had this conversation, but he did the university such a solid.
He did.
By stepping in that situation. You know what I did not realize, and maybe you don't realize this either until the other day. Somebody was telling me about Dennis Franchione's Texas A&M email scandal.
Mm-mm.
Have you ever heard this? So Franchione, when he goes to A&M, he's selling email subscriptions for $100 a month.
No way. You see, that's me with him.
To boosters. And it's like inside information that he's selling to these boosters for $100 a month.
Come on.
It's a newsletter, I swear to God. And I looked it up, man. There was a couple articles about it online. It's crazy. But
what's he doing now? Is Fran
he was
coaching
in TV when I was in school. I don't know what he does now, but that whole thing was insane. I wasn't familiar. Obviously, I was after the Franchione years.
Yeah. He wasn't a bad coach. He left for Texas A&M and got destroyed in the Big 12.
On us.
Yeah, he that's how bad the job was. And then you see all these coaches that are getting fired right now. Look, I hate to say it, LSU, but Brian Kelly's a good coach. Now I know he wasn't good at his Southern accent, and he looked stupid in some of those videos, and it seemed like maybe his style was a little bit prehistoric. He's over there screaming at guys and yelling at them and everything. But it's going to be tough to find someone that's going to be as accomplished as him. And then Hugh Freeze gets fired, and I think he's a good coach too. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but dude,
I was going to say, dude, when both of those guys were hired, and it's eerie that both those teams were on the schedule because those are always scary games. But when both those guys were hired, I completely signed off on both of them as being great hires.
Me too,
dude. These are great hires for these schools. Like Hugh Freeze fits what Auburn is, and Brian Kelly, I thought, was going to get the most out of the talent that LSU had.
So did I.
A lot of things have changed though over the last 3 or 4 years, and I don't know that those guys changed with it. So, abrupt end to both those tenures.
So, how does this affect Alabama?
I think you've got to be weary of the interim coach bump that happens. I think you don't know what you're getting. I mean, Georgia just dealt with a little bit of that with Florida. We covered it over here in Atlanta, obviously, where it's like you have a bye week and Napier's fired, and I think it was Billy Gonzalez who took over down at Florida, and you never really know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? Could be different play calls, different system, trickery, whatever. I mean, they're going to empty the bag. I think LSU is going to probably be a lot like that, man. They're going to have a lot of pride on the line, playing a game like this. I think all 3 of the SEC games that Bama has left are very losable games.
Mm-hmm.
People will point to record and point to everything else going on and point to the fired coaches. But at no point do I feel comfortable in any of the three of these games, even actually probably less now that these two coaches have been let go. So I don't know that there's an actual like tangible X's and O's of like, what does this do for Bama? Bama's map is very simple, keep winning games and go to the SEC title game, hopefully, and go to the playoff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just from a player's standpoint, it becomes a little bit scarier, man. You don't ever know what, especially coming off a bye week. That's the terrifying part. You come off a bye week and you start looking at what LSU does. I think a lot of it's going to change. They haven't made an attempt to run the football in LSU in the last few years. And maybe that's something that they put their offense line up to task and say, dude, we're going to run the football. With Brian Kelly gone, it's time to run this thing. So you don't ever know, but yeah, I'm weary of that one for sure.
Yeah. I think like when you have the interim coach, you never get the calls. Like I've always thought that, like when Bama had Joe Kynes coaching, like we got no calls in that game. Do you remember that bowl game?
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, man. You got to watch out for that trap.
Watch out for that trap.
Yeah, dude. And I actually played most of that game. I was a redshirt freshman that year, hadn't started the season. And I think Justin Britt got hurt and I played most of that game. And so that was like I think that was the most I'd ever played in college. But you're right, man. We actually got a penalty in that game. Now that I think about it, I got a holding call. So there you go, man.
Did you?
Screw those referees.
How many holding calls did you get?
In the game or over my whole career?
Oh, yeah, in your whole career. Is that a stat that they keep track of?
I
don't remember your name being called a lot on the holdings.
I would say. I'd say probably 3 over the course of my career holding calls. Now, false starts, don't get me started on that, man. I used to want to throw hands with people. I swear I always got pinned. Like if all 5 offensive linemen moved or 4 guys other than the center, I swear they always called my number out.
Yeah.
And like it got to be a point of we would just start laughing at it at the meeting room. It's like, dude, everybody moved and they were like, oh, left guard, 78, false start. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? How come my name gets put down in the record book when when all of a sudden John Park Wilson has a hiccup in the middle of his cadence or Andre Smith gets a cramp in the middle of the, it's like, why is it me? Like, why do I always call for this kind of thing? Yeah, I think I had 3 holding calls in my career at Bama. I wanted to say that was definitely one of them. That Independence Bowl. It wasn't too bad. Got a lot of false starts though, but not all of them my fault.
Hey guys, hit that QR code right there at the bottom underneath my box right there. And be part of Mick Nation, AveD. If you're already a part of it, go in, play the games. Everything's updated. Bama will take on LSU. We'll take on Oklahoma at 2:30. By the way, they named the game time for that. And we do the NFL there. Obviously, the World Series is over. But Mick Nation and AveD, and we appreciate them for putting that together. And we'll have tickets to give away, too. We're going to give away tickets to a game between now and the end of the season. Probably going to be that Eastern Illinois game. So, hey, we gave you Wisconsin earlier. That's probably what game you're going to get to go to. It's a great game for the kids. Take the kids.
There you go, man. That's perfect. Well put.
I'm not going to sit here and try to sell it as the Wisconsin game. Okay. So Alabama and LSU both have struggled running the ball this year, which is really surprising because these used to be 2 of the best running teams in the SEC and in the nation.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, and I haven't really started my film study on LSU this year, but I know that this has been one of the talking points. When you went back to last year, they had a really good offensive line. And right leading up to when LSU played Alabama, I can't remember the guy's name, the left guard got hurt. And I think you and I actually had this conversation on the podcast. The left guard from LSU gets hurt. He's going to be out for a little bit. And Brian Kelly was asked about the guy who was going to step into his role. And hey, backup left guard this week, Brian Kelly. Like, what? Tell us about this new kid. And I can't remember the kid's name, but Brian Kelly says something along the lines of, he's worked really hard to get to this point. And like that was his takeaway. And I remember telling you, I was like, dude, that's not good. No. Like, you know what I mean? Like you want your coach to step in front of the podium and be like, man, he's really talented. We're really excited about him getting this opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, we think that he, no drop off at all. Like, we think that he's going to be a guy that we can lean on. And, it is what it is. Injuries happen, but we feel good about this player. Brian Kelly steps at podium and goes, yeah, you know what? He's worked really hard to get. John Smith has worked really hard to get to this point. And, and I'm sitting there going, dude, oh my God, blood in the water. And at that point, I knew they weren't going to run the ball. You know what I mean? Like, I knew they were going to run the ball. They haven't made an attempt, though. Like, I remember watching their tape last year against Texas A&M, and they just didn't try. Like, I think they had like 8 rushing opportunities, and it's just not something they do. And you lean on the passing game and everything else going on with them. I know that it's got to be maddening for LSU fans, because you're right. That's a team and a university that has always had a strong offensive line and a strong run game. I mean, you go, back to the running backs they've had over the last 15 years. It's just nuts. Right. So, I can't put my finger on Bama, though, as far as why Bama's struggling. It's something every now and then. I think one of the issues is that we don't have the tight ends / H-backs that we did last year. Robbie Oots was a pretty good player. And our offensive line does struggle at times getting movement on single blocks, but the double teams seem to be good. And I've said this all season to you. I feel like the actual on-field product by the offensive line has not been reflected in the numbers, especially when Jam Miller was not out there. But since he's been back, I really thought those numbers would start to climb again, and they haven't. So we'll see what happens with that. But I don't think it's been bad blocking. He's had, soft entry points for the most part on the offensive line. It just hasn't gelled together for whatever reason. And hopefully they can make that next step with a few games left on the schedule.
That'd be great. Hey, guys, I redid the studio, and one of the things I did was I included that print right there. Had to take some Daniel Moores out to make room for this this new look, but because Mike signed that one, it stays on the wall right behind me. Coker's got his print. He's in here a lot. And you guys can have this one right here for your collection. You can pimp out your man cave using our promo code Bama Tailgate at newlifeart.com. That's Heisman Heights. That's the guy that won a national championship. By the way, catching a game-winning walk-off to win a natty, won a Heisman, and then won the Super Bowl last year. Devontae Smith making that incredible catch against LSU. All week long, 30% off anything Heisman Heights at newlifeart.com. This is one of the coolest prints. Look at him up there making that grab during COVID. See, I see someone with a mask on in the background. Just really was the best in the nation as far as wide receivers go. And he's just an awesome guy too, right? He's just represented the university so well. So Heisman Heights is our deal. Promo code is Bama Tailgate. Get 30% off of that and check them out. I was there. I stopped by there the other day and I'm like, look, you got to do a Tennessee print. You got to do a Tennessee pick 6 print. Like it just have to. You just have to.
How good would that be?
Like I said, you need to do it like that. Like the one that they did for Bobby Humphrey, where like it's kind of like. Let me see if I can pull that up. But he's running, and it's kind of blurry behind him.
Yeah,
love that print.
I like the one that you've got behind you, man. That's I think that's Emmanuel Acho right down there underneath me. Or Sam Acho, actually, not Emmanuel. Sam, who does a good job calling ESPN games these days. Feel happy for him, but yeah, that's a cool print.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find it. Anyway, yeah, I love them, dude. I mean, like they're great. What's cool is that who would have known that, like I got your print that you signed, but you didn't even sign it for me. You just signed it for them, and I haven't. Same thing with Coker. He signed that one. He comes in here. He's like, hey, there's your signature right there. He's like, yeah, that was like one of like 2,365.
It is a long day. Long day.
There's a lot of this.
Long day. They're like, sit down in this chair and just buckle up. And they just move. It's like a conveyor belt. It
just comes through.
Yep. There's just 2 people, one on each side. They're just one's sliding them after you sign them. The other one's collecting them, putting them away.
Probably our buddy Jeff. So what do you think about this Bama LSU game a week, on Monday, where we are right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I always feel like it's about Bama, but I think even more so in this one. I think that you have to, really put your foot down in terms of what this team is and what you want to accomplish. And I do feel comfortable that Ty Simpson's that guy. You know what I mean? We talked about the transition between a coaching led team to a player led team, which we have right now, and Ty Simpson being that dude. And I don't feel like there's any letdown. I mean, I think that you go through the bye week, you get a little bit more healthy, and I just have full trust in Ryan Grubb right now offensively that he's going to have something in the bag. I always look at these other teams and I'm like, oh, they're going to have something for Bama, man. Like they're going to have a trick up their sleeve. They're going to have another way to go about it. But I can't tell you how good I feel about Ryan Grubb in these situations coming off a bye week. It's like, man, I feel like he's going to have something else up his sleeve that maybe our offense changes a little bit. Maybe we start running more, counter or different short yardage plays, or maybe there's something else with Caden Proctor. Maybe Caden Proctor throws a touchdown pass this time. I mean, who knows? The sky is limitless. So we'll see what happens. But this game to me can be a statement game. I mean, you win this one, and barrel towards the end of the season, and start staying healthy and everything else. I think that the sky's the limit. So hopefully they can deal with business and get it done, and kind of get this one checked off the list.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's it, right? Like this is where the team struggled last year, dealing with success, but they were really good at home. And the next home game, this one's going to be tough. Next one's going to be really tough. Could be the toughest game left on the schedule. You still got to go to Auburn. You don't know what to expect. The one good thing about a team that doesn't have a head coach is that for them is they can do whatever they want. I mean, no accountability, right? So,
oh yeah,
so this is super interesting when you look at just how two of the four head coaches that you got to face are fired, and 4 of the 16 teams in the league fired their head coach. That's big percentage.
Isn't that crazy, man? And you know what's crazy about Auburn doing it is that, like, start looking at it, I'm going, who fits in that role, right? Like who is Auburn possibly targeting? I don't think anybody would mistake Auburn as being one of the top 3 openings, right? I mean, LSU's probably number 1, but their governor's doing everything he can to make sure that's not a thing. Penn State's going to be up there just because their situation and all the backing they have. Florida's a pretty good job. I mean, it's just, historically, that's a place you're going to want to go. And now Auburn throws their name into the hat, and it's like, I don't know what the target will be. All these other coaches starting to get extensions and everything else. I think right, Lashley just got one, and obviously some other coaches on the landscape have gotten these extensions. So whereas in the past this would have been Auburn going, oh man, is Lane Kiffin available? Like, I don't think Lane Kiffin even takes a second look at Auburn right now. Do you?
No, I mean, I think Lane Kiffin is. I would, and it's probably a good transition to start talking about Kelce. Because we're playing Kelce right now, even though I don't think this is on Kelce. Where Lane Kiffin is going to end up, I'm going to actually type it in and see if you can play that on there. But I think he ends up in Florida.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that way too. I just don't know. I don't know that you want to walk into that situation, LSU, especially after he just insulted your agent. After the governor comes out and insults your agent, and he says that everybody ought to be looking into what these agents are doing, and he's talking about Jimmy Sexton.
Right.
Like, you just know that Jimmy's like, wait, what? Like, I'm not going to do that. And so I'm with you. I think that I don't think he stays at Ole Miss, although I wish he would, man. It's so much fun with him at Ole Miss. Like, I think that people look at it and they're like, he needs to go to this big job or that big job. I'm not so sure that Lane's not going to get looks at NFL jobs. I mean, I know that's crazy to think, and he had one, 15 years ago, or however long ago that was, 17 years ago, something like that. But I think he'll get looks at that, just because when you can call plays and you can design offenses and you can show that you can do it at a high level, you are in demand, buddy. And so I think that Florida's right there in the top 3-4 jobs, if not number 2. And I think that he'll probably take a really hard look at heading down to Gainesville and taking over that program.
All right. Well, guess what? I did find it on Kelce. So
Wow.
we're going to get to talk about this. It's going to be interesting here. And I want to remind you guys that Kelce is legal in all 50 states and that you get better odds than anywhere else because there's no house vig. Prices are set by supply and demand, no limits. They don't cut winners off. You get live trading. I mean, you can just keep coming and going as you want. There's flexibility, cash out anytime, transparent pricing, watch odds move over time. And then it's not just football, it's politics, economy, Oscars, Grammys, pop culture, which I love getting into on here. I love like seeing your reaction when I ask you stuff that has nothing to do with football. I like Shank's fun to do this with because I never know what he's going to say. You're fun to watch because you are probably wondering what I'm going to say. Like what crazy thing are we going to talk about? But today we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin. All right. So let me start with the way that this is broken out, right? You have to tell me what odds Lane Kiffin is on Kelce. What do you think for being the next coach at LSU? Let's start with LSU.
I genuinely have zero clue, but I'll throw a number out there. We're just at plus 250, the odds that he's going to be at LSU.
Okay, so break that down into a percent.
What is that? 2.5 to 1 odds.
Okay. So like 50%?
No. That'd
like
be
25%?
It'd be 40%.
Okay, 40%. All right, thank you. 40%. All right. Let me throw this up on the screen. There you have it. Lane Kiffin is right now on Kelce. The odds on favorite, according to all the people out there throwing their money down, to be the next coach at LSU. 26% of the money on Lane. Now, John Summerall is 15%. He's up 3. Eli Drinkowitz, I think that's who's going to get it. He's got 14% of the money. How about Nick Saban? You played for him at 11%. Another former Alabama coach, Brett Key, Georgia Tech coach at 8. And there's your list right there. So Lane Kiffin, according to the people at Kelce, down a little bit, by the way, down 1% to be the coach.
Wait, scroll back down just a little bit. I want to see the
You want to see the list again?
Where was Kelvin Shepherd on that list? 7.
There he is, 7%. Now, who is he?
Okay, so Kelvin Shepherd played there. He's actually he's in his first year as the Detroit Lions defense coordinator right now.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right,
yeah,
gotcha.
and he was a really good player there. So that's one that you're going to see like alumni kind of love to hear that about. But yeah,
okay,
man, they're all of those names are interesting. Joe Brady, very interesting name, Joe Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing him on that list, Joe Brady, he was the passing game coordinator there in 2019 when they won the national title. And now he is the OC for the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
That was really his coming out party as a coach. Like he was just an analyst that moved into a passing game coordinator role with them. And then all of a sudden he's like the Panthers offensive coordinator and doing different things in the NFL. But if he ever wanted to be a head coach, that'd probably be the place he would pick. And that's an intriguing choice as well.
All right, here we go. Bama Tailgate is our Kelce code. You get $10 free when you bet 100. Now we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin or the field to be the next Florida Gators head coach. What do you think? What's the percentage here?
I'm going to say it's higher. It's got to be higher than it is at LSU right now, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're going percentage-wise, I'll go like 30 if we're in the ballpark for that.
Okay. Well, the actual – oops. Me off of there. Then let me put it up there. Boom. There it is. I'm going to take this off. 48% of the money. And look at that, $92,000 right now being exchanged. I think Lane Kiffin's going to be the coach of Florida. Put me in that category. Eli Drinkowitz, second. You got, kind of some list. Urban Meyer to come back down to -4%. Jeff Brom, Lincoln Riley. But
Clinton Schumann would be an interesting one. Love to
yeah,
see
but
that.
look, I mean, basically, for all intents and purposes, it's where the public money is. It's Lane Kiffin down 6 though, but between Eli Drinkowitz and then Jed Fish, isn't he? Where's he at now? Is he Washington?
Yeah, he was the one that was at Arizona. I think he went to Washington when DeBoer left.
Does this surprise you at all?
No, I think that Florida becomes a perfect place for Lane Kiffin. He's reunited with his wife, so maybe Ole Miss is not the best place for him. Although the family is back together in that aspect. But look, man, they're Florida people, always have been. He was a guy, Monty was with Tampa for so long. I mean, literally the Tampa 2 defense. And it makes a lot of sense for him to go to Florida. He's always been a Florida guy. So I think LSU would have been really kind with their wallet until this whole governor situation. And now I think right off of that, you look at Florida and you look at their need for an offensive guy who can kind of shake things up. And I think he makes a lot of sense there. I think they'll make their best offer to him.
Okay. All right. And then changing gears, the last Kelce thing I want to ask you about, Mike, you're a guy that loves a good movie. I drove by the movies a couple days ago, and I was like, when's the last time I've been in to see a movie in person, right? And it's got to be before COVID, right? I was wondering what it was, but it's been a long time. But this movie popped up, and I was thinking, that might be the movie that kind of gets me back into theaters again, and it's called Predator Badlands. Do you remember Predator? Do you remember the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura? Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. There's one. Yeah, Jesse Ventura.
So what the Predator Badlands, it's like they're over where all the predators live, I think, because I saw some of the previews that looked interesting. Rotten Tomatoes score for Predator. And basically, I'm going to give you some. Above 45, above 60, above 65, above 70, above 75, above 80, above 85, above 90. What do you think?
I'm going to say above 85. I don't know, man. Like Rotten Tomatoes always has a weird way of scoring things. Some of the movies that I think are awful get good scores on there. So I'm going to say above 85 and just ride with that.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that too. Let me throw this up there. I got a feeling that the Rotten Tomatoes score is going to be terrible for this movie. Like how many times do they give like a terrible score, and then you're like, you know what, Ghostbusters is a damn good movie. You're like looking at it. But right now,
I was talking to a buddy of mine about this yesterday, actually, about Rotten Tomatoes, because I watched a Vince Vaughn prison movie like probably 5 years ago. Just awful movie. Vince Vaughn's trying to do a Southern accent. It's just terrible. And I think the Rotten Tomatoes scores are like 93% on this Vince Vaughn prison movie. I was like, there's just no way that people thought that movie was good.
No.
And yet there we are.
Sometimes I don't know, I haven't looked at it recently, but sometimes you'll see these movies and they have like a political bias and you're like, oh, that's why the Rotten Tomato score was so high. It's right. No, it's a terrible movie here. Or sometimes, but like then there's times where you see something really good and they give it a bad score, but sometimes, a lot of times they actually nail it. So, we'll see. Does it ever influence you to go or not to go because of the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Definitely not anymore. I'll say that. I mean, the only time I ever go now, I think I've been twice with the kids, and we've seen, just kid movies. But other than that, I'm with you. It's probably pre-COVID when I went by myself or with the wife on a date night. And I can't say that we've ever looked at Rotten Tomatoes beforehand. It's just usually whatever movie's hot at the time.
Yeah. Like I love the Rocky movies. They never seem to like get high scores. They're not the best, dude. I think going to see Rocky 3 in the movie theater was the greatest movie experience of my life as a kid. And that was back when there was like 2 theaters, and you had this. You probably don't even remember this. You'd have to stand outside while the movie was going because you were in line to go see the movie when it ended.
Wow.
That was when people used to love the movies. I don't think those days are here anymore. All right, it's Bama Tailgate, $10 free when you sign up using our link and trade $100. So take advantage of that. Any when you look at the SEC standings, and we're getting off here, who are the teams you worry about the most?
I don't look. It's Texas A&M is worrisome. There's no doubt. Their offensive line is good enough to bully us, and their style of making plays it's worrisome. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Now, I think that Georgia, if you're in a rematch with Georgia in an SEC title game, I think that would be a whole nother, series of issues. But as it stands right now, I think Texas A&M is really the biggest hurdle if you're talking about Bama going to the playoffs and not losing another game. I've said all along, I think Bama's going to lose an SEC game. I think there's 3 trap games right ahead of you in terms of these 3 teams. It's going to be hard to keep running the gauntlet and walking that fine line. But if you do make it to the SEC title game and Texas A&M's waiting on you, man, that's a big matchup with that team over there.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about, we really not have a big discussion on it, but I saw where Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. was suspended indefinitely. Looked like he had some kind of deal where he was trying to outrun the police, whatever. I met him this summer. He's a good kid, and I just hope that he does what he needs to do to get back on the team, work through this legal situation, and grow from this experience. But I just know from meeting him that he is a good kid. Made a bad decision, and like I said, I hope he grows from it. The other thing I want to tell you guys is that we're presented by Residence Inn by Marriott Ocean City. Make sure that you take care of your next vacation at the back-to-back coastal style hotel of the year right there in OC, where I grew up. That's one of the places that we used to go is OC. That hotel is absolutely amazing. Our friends from the next round did their show from there. They loved it. Right there in Ocean City, great seafood, crabs, boardwalk, Secrets Bar. So many cool things. I honestly, I can't wait to go and check that out. Mike, any final thoughts?
Man, look, we got this stretch run ahead of us. Hopefully the guys are locked in. I know they can win all these games. I think it's going to be a tough task, but don't let anybody sneak up and bite us. Let's see if we can make it all the way to Atlanta unscathed, win that one, and then head off into the playoff.
Let's do it. Roll Tide.
We're presented by Bod Coach, and you can tell I'm slimming up over here, and it's because of Bod Coach. This is absolutely amazing. It's your personal trainer that is with you 24/7. So when I go to hotels or when I'm on the road, I type in, "Hey, look, I got equipment. This is what I have," and it'll make a workout specifically for me, what I want, what exercises I want. When I'm at home or I'm in a hotel and there's no way I can get to the gym, it'll say, "Hey, this is what I want to work on today," and it sends you personalized workout plans. It's really awesome. And they contacted me a few weeks ago to be a spokesman. I said, "Well, I want to try this." Bod Coach is fantastic. I use it all the time. I mean, and if I'm telling you, man, it makes working out when you are on the go like me so much better. Just because I don't always know I didn't play football at Alabama. I didn't have Scott Cochran yelling, yeah, and telling me what workouts to do. So anyway, I'm going to put in the body on the YouTube all about Bod Coach. Get you guys signed up there, but tell them you heard it on Bama Tailgate.
I may not suit up on Saturdays anymore, but I'm still in the game.
Let's roll.
In here, I call the plays, make adjustments, and lay it on the line. Want to feel that fire, that rush? Then you've got to get in the game. I used to say it in the tunnel, and I still say it now. Let's roll.